Hey, hey, we're the monkeys. We're just monkeying around. Welcome back to Father Figures. Justin Michael with you. Justin Michael Gall, if you wish, or just Gus, or I don't really care. McSolvin is on the other end of the internet. And what do you call me, mate? I actually don't know.
I'm just sorry. I was just picturing myself on the other end of the internet, like holding some kind of cable just to keep the whole internet together. But that's by the way.
I feel like that's a Marvel series waiting to happen. Heath and the internet. Like it's
Yep,
like
yep.
Loki Part 3, and just at the end of it, it's actually just Heath holding all the strings. And,
Putting the glove on and just
oh, how many
Mm.
gemstones? That was the
What
question.
do I call you? I think I call you Justin, Gus occasionally.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know. Uh,
Yeah, you
you know.
probably fit into the Gus category, I reckon. You're very welcome to do
Yeah.
that. I feel like, I mean, I got nicknamed Gus when I was like 10,
Yep.
and that was at least 10 years ago now. Thank you. Considering I have a 10-year-old son, you do the math.
And a 17-year-old son. 18. Mate, good to be back. Here we are. We're wrapping up the season. This is our season finale. Hey.
It is, and it's going to be better than Ange Postecoglou's season end, I'll tell you.
Well, we've already done season 2 because what did he say? You know, at the end of
Season 3 is going to be the best.
Yeah.
They never got to see it. But he's got a new side, so he's got some new battlers to work with.
Well, that's right.
All right.
That's obviously a soccer reference for those who are unaware who Ange is.
And you just offended 3/4 of the world by calling it soccer.
Well, I was going to say football, but then, you know, we're a Melbourne-based
I think you can say. I think you can say European football, and they'll forgive you. You can put European in front of it.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Yeah.
now we're getting down to the tip.
And then you have to make a joke about European.
Hey!
Yeah. Actually, our favorite joke from Cars, the first, Cars, when Lightning McQueen finds out that his mentor won the Piston Cup. Is a Piston Cup
winner.
What cup? And Mater turns around. Hang on, you got to repeat it now. I talked over the top of you. He's a 3-time Piston Cup winner.
He did what in his cup?
And it took, I guess my kids, Noah and Luca, would have seen that when they were like 5, 6, 7 years old. So we're talking over a decade later now, and it's still just it's still
on high rotation, that joke.
Optional joke at any given time. And so are you. McSolvin is
final season. That's where we were heading. Final episode. Sorry.
Final episode, first championship win. I would suggest. We've covered lots of things around change, and kind of, I guess we've talked about the inevitability of change. The only thing that's constant is change. The management of change, and in the end, I don't know about you, but some days I just don't want that word to be present. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So I do look for those moments of peace. So you're at least 12 months older than me, I guess. So you've got the beard to match the wisdom. So a moment of peace away from the chaos of change. What does it look like for you?
Yeah, look, it's funny. At work in our weekly team meeting that we have with my team. One of the questions that we each have to answer every week when we do our round the grounds, we call it round the grounds, is what are you doing this week for self-care? And you have to actually stop and name it.
Okay. And you just say,
some people,
yeah,
I just pretty much go, I don't know, nothing.
No, you're supposed to. You said name it, so I was throwing in there the option to use my name because that would obviously
name it being just right.
Yeah. I feel like we need to work on our comedy. Timing. Yeah.
Hey. Self-care. So yeah, look, it's I think what do I do for self-care? For me, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but certainly for me, one of the best things of self-care that I can do is if I can get 30 minutes to sit down and watch an episode of a TV show that I want to watch
just 30
without
minutes?
Anybody else around.
Okay.
That's great self-care. Just that little moment on your own.
And I'm going to throw in there the TV show would be familiar. You wouldn't be watching something new to relax, yeah?
No, it would be a series. Like at the moment, I'm watching Clarkson's Farm.
Oh yeah.
Jeremy Clarkson and
Mhm.
his farm. So if I can get, they're hour-long episodes, but if I can get half an episode in, I'm pretty happy.
Now,
Like,
see, my ADHD brain won't allow that. I have to get a whole episode in. It doesn't work
yeah.
just a half hour because I don't. I'm the guy that goes to the bad movie and stays through to the end. I
Wow. Yeah. Right. Okay.
need
Yeah.
to put a dot on the end of
No,
that.
I'll go halfway because then I'll go, ooh, then I'll look forward to watching the second half going, ooh,
Yeah, see
that's going to
that
be,
somehow reminds me of primary school where the teacher would say, we can watch this movie together. We can watch, Babe or something like that, and we can watch 20-minute installments. And
yeah.
kids listening, this was before the age of streaming, so you couldn't go home and just watch the end of the movie
Yeah.
unless your parents took you to Blockbuster, hired that VHS
Yeah.
home, and you remembered to rewind. And so
Because
you
you
were
had the fee that they'd charge you if you didn't rewind the tape.
the idea that someone would actually cough up and pay that fee. Like
Yeah.
these days, we're taught to not buy anything. Like just you don't even own anything anymore. Back in the day, not only did we have to go and there was only 3 copies of the movie you wanted to see,
Yep.
you'd have to find the copy behind the copy. Then you
Yep.
take it, and then if you got it back 24 hours too late, you had a fee. If
Mm.
you rewind, you had a fee.
Yep.
If you didn't
Yep.
pay your fee, you couldn't hire the new film. So they got the money out of you somehow.
Oh man, and remember when like the blockbusters of this world got really big, and
Mhm.
when a new movie had come out, they'd say, "Get it the first time you want it, or you get it free."
Oh, I don't remember that. Maybe I was too
Yeah.
busy at Pizza Hut getting my pizza for free if it didn't arrive in 30 minutes.
You're
Maybe
like,
that was just the
"Oh my
90s
God."
in advertising. Let's just put a time limit on it. They'll get it.
So was, yeah. I mean, that's all they could do, really, wasn't it? So, yeah. What's your self care, man? What do you do? What's the thing when you want to switch off or you want to just recharge? What is it?
I think we've talked about change as a constant. So the word pivot has been coming to mind a lot. And one of our episodes, of course, was called Parenting Pivots. And I think we can talk about that today as well. But I've observed more recently that sometimes I don't know how to answer that question, which has been a bit of a shock to me because it used to be play live music with my band or
Of course, yeah.
you know, even stuff like this, making and creating podcasts would have been a much, it's still beautiful. I still enjoy it, but it's not the tank filler it used to be. And as you would understand it, putting time aside as a grown up to do anything other than what has to be done,
Yeah.
really where self-care comes, because again, even the word self-care, I get a little bit of a, do I have to talk about,
Yeah, yeah.
I almost, and some people's personalities will resonate with this, that feels a little selfish at times, or is it even a cop out? So sometimes it's actually doing something to trick my brain into letting me relax. So for me, look, as we've said many times, when you've got a large family, there's never an off switch. There's always you could go to bed at 10 and be up at 2 with something, So I'm stalling here because I don't.
You don't know what.
No.
You've got a night off. The kids aren't around. Jodie's gone out. You're at home. What are you going to do?
No, you're creating anxiety for me right there because I've immediately got decision fatigue. I don't know. So this is my problem, right? And my therapist will work this out. Don't stress. But so for me, the spiritual answer would be that I'll, do some study of the word or something like that. The indulgent person in me would be I'll make the sweetest dessert possible and eat it all myself or something like that.
Nice.
But and the other part of me would be I'll take myself to the movies or go to the art gallery or do something like that. So I've got a few things up my sleeve. The problem is, and this is the part that I've got to discipline myself in, and this is just confession time to help other people who might feel this way too. The problem is making the decision before the time to relax arrives. So it's kind of like, and again, it's a bit of the ADHD brain. I can do 47 things. Depending on what's needed in the moment. I'm not great at looking after me just in general because I don't have a good measure of what relaxes me. Because of the amount of change that's happened in our family and in work and all that sort of, and we've been dealing with lots of health stuff and career change and everything else that comes. And I think we've talked before about we are in that classic age where we're probably thinking about, hey, what happens to our parents in the next 10 years and what happens to our kids in the next 10 years and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes, dude, it's as I'm a verbal processor, so I'll try and ring a friend. And as I say to all my friends that answer the phone, I appreciate answering it because I know the commitment it took. I know how much time press the green button on that call. So there you go. There's my confession. Not good at it, not great at it. As a pastor, fantastic at helping other people do it.
Yeah. Yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
What do you find with your kids? Do you talk to you much about your kids about self-care, or what do you notice that they do for self-care? If they would even categorize it that way, or you might see it that way.
And they may not, and you might relate to this. You know, when a teenager says, "Oh, I'm exhausted. I've been going so far," right? And for those of you who aren't watching this podcast, Heath hung his head, covered his with his hands and giggled.
Yeah.
Because it's hard as an adult to conceive that a child is actually overwhelmed or tired or whatever, because by my adult measure, they've done nothing all day.
Yeah. My oldest son, this week gone, he works at McDonald's, and he got a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift. Had to start at 6. Now that's 8 hours. I'll give it. That's a hard day. Talked about it for 3 days leading up to it, and talked about it for 2 days afterwards.
Right.
I'm like, really?
It's so. And I mean, did you start back in my day, Sean? We were down the morning 3 a.m., licked the rocks clean. But it is hard. I think that's kind of the problem, is that every age you get to, you've never been there before.
Yeah.
Every task you take on that's new.
And I would have been the same. Yeah, exactly. I would have been the same. At 16 years old, I'd have been mortified to think I could get up and work at 6 in the morning and do 8 hours and then come home and expect to do anything. But yeah, like I totally get it. But like you say, when you view it from an adult, don't you? You have a very different viewpoint on it.
I think
Jesus, if that's all I had to do today, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Then, of course, I would have paralysis about what to do with the rest of the day, so that wouldn't help me either. But I think that the pivot points for me as kind of, and I've said this in a few different ways, but parenting is you start by holding on as tight as you can. And then you learn and learn and learn to let go. So you get further and further away from the touch point where any stumble, you hold them. You let them wobble a bit, and you let them wobble a bit more, and then in a perfect world with perfect parenting, which of course you and I have nailed, the child makes it through to 18, whatever you consider independence to be, and they've felt safe, but they've been stretched and challenged enough in that whole season. So I think for me, what's interesting is, again, I've never been this age before. I've never been this tired before either. And I've found new levels of tired in parenting. But I think when you ask what's the self-care part, actually for me, I interpret that question as what's the thing that would excite me? What's the thing that would light me up?
Energize you.
Energize it, yeah. Bucket fill, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And I think I want to put change in this category. I want all change to be worthwhile. So I want change to begin and me notice that it's happening. Then I want to figure out, as some sort of true north of what that change is going to lead to. So schooling is the obvious one. You're supposed to get through to the end and get a good mark, Yep. And obviously, along our parenting journey, you change and you pivot depending on the child's sense of whatever their intellect level is, whatever their skill set is, all that sort of stuff. So if you're the kind of parent that says my child has to get through year 12 and has to get a great and is it an enter score now? What do they get now?
Yeah, ATAR.
ATAR score?
ATAR?
Something like that. They get a score at the end. And if you're the kind of parent that goes, all of my children have to get through to year 12, have to get a great score, and have to get into tertiary, then you've set a true north, and anything left or right of that starts to
Yep.
become a disappointment. So for me, it's been about observing what's changed in my life over the years, forced through, work change, relationship breakdown, all sorts of things that impact how you work, whether you can work, where you can work, and then observing how I managed that and changed through that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing that when I talk to my kids about worthwhile change, I'm trying to set them up with a solid enough grounding in their own self-worth
Yep.
so that the change that comes will not change their self-worth, which
Yeah.
changes how I go about the parenting, because it allows me to drop things like my kid might not want to do this here. That might not work for them. My kid, let's go through the schooling things. Might need homeschooling, might need this, might need that, might need apprenticeship, whatever. Does that change for you in the co-parenting space? Do you sometimes think actually this kid works better with mum than with me?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, I think we still parent. It's very rare for us to disagree on a parenting choice.
Mm-hmm.
We probably disagree as much on parenting choices now as we did when we were married, which is not a lot. Which is not a lot. We're pretty much on the same page with it, and neither of us are precious about that idea that in this particular scenario, mum is better suited for this conversation or for this activity or for whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're really fortunate in that that we still rely on the mum and the dad.
So the worthwhile change, some of the stuff that has been forced on us. So a child's health is an obvious one. You have a child with special needs, or you have a child with any sort of health, like physical health challenge. So I've got friends who have children with severe asthma or diabetes or those kinds of things, where managing the child's physical health changes every other element. You guys and our family too have done, made some neurological discoveries with the kids as they've grown.
Yep.
Were they big pivots for you? Do you sort of, you're into the journey now. Do you remember?
Yeah, no, I don't think they were big pivots. I think if anything, they were relieving pivots,
Right.
because you could sort of categorize something as much as you don't want to categorize, a child or give them a diagnosis, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But it helped make you understand why perhaps the child is the way the child is, or even why I might be reacting the way that I am to the child, and how I might need to change how I react to it. So, yeah, I don't think that level of change has been helpful to your point before. It's been good change and helpful change because it's informing.
Yeah. And when you think worthwhile change, I think when I look at it, the mirror conversation came up a lot in discovering some of the spectrum stuff with our children, with two of our children particularly, who have a diagnosis now, and it's really helpful because it helps them. For me, it really helped me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had the same experience of the change was such that I started to realize things like, I'm really sensory too. I dim the lights all the time. I try and make spaces calmer and, put cushions everywhere, whatever it is, there's physical space things. But even in relationships, friendships that I have, I started to discover that actually I love that person, but I can't be around that person. And it's not because they're not a kind person. It's just that too much of that person is too much for me, which, and here's the kicker, that helped me understand why too much of me is too much for other people. Because you and I have been around enough. We've traveled in buses together and spent long times, in each other's physical.
Yeah.
I don't remember particularly coming to blows or stress points with you. Maybe I blanked those out, but do you know what I'm saying?
My experience of you in those times when we were sort of touring in the band and spending a lot of time in cars or buses or whatever, or in aeroplanes, was that you were a little bit like the Energizer Bunny, So like really full, and then all of a sudden turn around and you're asleep in the corner.
Yeah.
And it was like, so I always knew that there was this time
There was an end. There's an end coming. Yeah.
It's not going to go on forever. This is going to be fine. I'm going to enjoy this version of Justin while he's here, because this is the beautiful, fun, loving, let's have a great time. But I know it's not about to go for the 6 hours that we're in the bus together because it couldn't. And bang, you're off to sleep. It was like, great, here we go. This is all good, and I really enjoy that aspect of you that brings that fun and vivaciousness and liveliness to a room or to a conversation. And equally, when you or anyone else that, might be that type of person, switches off, that's fine too. It doesn't mean that I don't like you any less or love anybody any less. It's just nice to get a bit of a balance of things that, I don't know. Do you know anyone that you think goes 10 out of 10 the whole time that you're with them?
I do know a couple of people that are, higher energy again, a little bit more OCD in their intensity. So there are people that are, and it might be strange coming from me to say, but there are people that are so intense in their creative. They've got to be, they go faster than me. So I'm always interested in who I come alongside. So I would say, again, in the creative space, I've met some people who are driven by success in a different way. I'm not driven by success. So I'd never needed to make $1 million with the band or, get the biggest audience. That was never me. As you probably know, whoever's in front of me, they'll get 100% of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a values thing that was taught to me as well. And that's something that, again, I've tried to share with the kids. Whoever is in need, if you can serve them, you give them the whole of yourself. And then, of course, trying to teach those boundaries around this is what burnout looks like. Daddy's experienced that too. But for you, I would sort of ask the same question is, the kind of person you are, because we've talked about you have that withdrawal thing as well. You need to step away. But if you're only getting, and so many parents are like this, I'm getting, you've talked about half an hour to watch a TV episode. That feels like heaven. That's not a lot. And you're not a big sleeper either. You're at the other end of the spectrum. You seem to be able to thrive on 5 hours sleep a night, several nights in a row. I can do that if I have to, but it's not my preference. And I'll just catch a nap, as you've attested. Or whatever. Not whilst driving.
Definitely not while driving, though.
But for you, for all of those who are listening that are more on that side of the wiring, the kids are high. The kids have got all their needs all through the day. You're doing co-parenting. You're trying to share the responsibilities, the emotional heart connections and disconnections, and then just work is big for you. You don't do small jobs. Work is always a big deal. Half an hour does not seem like enough.
Yeah. When you put it like that, I would agree.
Can I just exhaust you, explaining you to you?
No, but you see, I think the way my brain works is, how people say they can't stop thinking. They have this inner monologue that goes on all the time. Get to bed, can't stop thinking.
Yeah.
I stop. I stop thinking. I watch TV. I've stopped thinking about everything else that's going on, and I'm just watching TV. Now that might make me sound very one-dimensional, but I often think of that as sort of my spiritual gift.
Yes.
Is this ability to block stuff out and just be in that moment at that time doing that thing. And so when it's time for bed, it's time for sleep. When it's time to watch the TV, I'll watch the TV. No matter what's going on around me, within reason. Obviously, not all the time.
And again, that's why, again, you and I are, we go together like opposites attract. I think Paula Abdul once quoted.
We should get some bracelets. Should we get a bracelet?
I think so. I think I'll just get one of those hearts and break it, and then you get half.
Oh, the two hearts, yeah.
Or two strong hearts reaching out forever like a river to the sea. You
What was
and
Amy
me,
Grant's? She had a heart song. What was Amy Grant's?
every heartbeat,
Heartbeat.
there's your name.
There you
Loud
go.
and clear, they stake my ba-ba-da-da-da, and they'll tell you it's true. Come on, because every
Every
heartbeat belongs
heartbeat
to you.
to
Woo!
you.
Written by Charlie Peacock. There you go.
Well, just as a side note, right?
That wasn't a side note. What was that?
No, yeah, no. Well, let's continue on that side note. When people ask, you know how you rest of your life after you've been to your first concert, people say, "What was your first concert?" Mine, Amy Grant.
Amy Grant, and you had a crush on her, and I wanted to marry her, and you wanted to marry her.
No,
Surely
I
you did.
really.
Oh, come on.
I don't know that I did. I probably had a crush on another artist called Leslie Phillips,
Leslie
who
Phillips.
was around sort of at that time as well.
Mhm.
But Ocean, my oldest son, the first concert I took him to was Elton John, and that whole night we just talked about. Like, I reckon that's pretty cool. I would probably take Elton John over Amy Grant as my first concert. Not that I don't want to go and see an Amy Grant concert; it's pretty cool. But yeah.
I don't know.
Elton John is your first concert.
Are you trying to reverse engineer your childhood?
Yeah, baby.
I wish I was hip back in the day. I went to school and told the kids I went to Amy Grant, and they punched me in the face for it. Yes.
Oh, they totally would have back then, 100%. I don't think I told anyone at school that I went to the Amy Grant concert.
I didn't care at all. I didn't know anybody cared. I was like, I saw the news, boys. Yeah.
Yeah, like whatever.
Yeah,
Who are you, Christian weirdo?
No, I'd be like, mate, Steve Grace came to my church. It was amazing. I'm like, who?
Yeah, exactly.
And then I just think, children of the Western world, are we going nowhere?
And hi, Steve, if you're listening.
Hi, Steve. Love you, mate. Actually, that is a lovely thing. Steve is a mate these days, so that's cool. Well,
Yeah, same.
know each other from a distance. But, you know, what a legend. Yes, but anyway, you would have preferred to go to Elton John. Your point there was something. You were on a side note.
It was a side note, so it really didn't have a point.
Okay, so the point is that singing Rocket Man was a fun thing with Ocean.
Yep, that's right. Yep. I heard that, what's the line? That Elton John doesn't really like lettuce. He's more of a Rocket Man.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Hey! Worthwhile change that is worthwhile. Those little pivot points, and we've talked about this a lot over the years of the pod, the pivot points matter, the moments matter. Here's the other challenge I find is that a couple of weeks ago, I took the kids to see Interstellar at IMAX. So my three older boys, Noah, Luca, Ari, all came to Interstellar. That morning I was in Melbourne, so and Luca was at a frisbee tournament for his school, where they at Albert Park. So Luca and I met at 3 o'clock once the tournament was done. He just won a gold medal, inter-school gold medal for the frisbee tournament, and he was so excited, and he showed me the gold medal. That was really cool. And my older son and Ari, Noah brought Ari on the train from Geelong through to Melbourne. And so Ari was having this big adventure with his big brother. That was really exciting. While Luca and I were waiting for the boys to arrive, we went to the National Gallery. It went from summer to winter outside in Melbourne. So we went outside the National Gallery. You had the wall of water behind you and the wall of water in front of you. And then we walked down to Fed Square, and Daddy got a beer during happy hour and got, kiddo a whatever it was, something. And I bought him a couple of slices of pizza at Flinders Street Station, the big pizza.
Another one. Yeah.
We go over to the Fed Square and I buy a beer and we sit there and we watch a game of NFL together, which was like a 1-point deciding game. Then we pick the boys up from the station. We drive to IMAX and we have pizza and stuff on Lygon Street. And then we watch one of the greatest movies ever made on IMAX. And then they get home at 12:30. We drive in the car all the way home. And I was like, the perfect day.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday happened. Do you ever feel that pressure? Like, I nailed that day. Yeah, the sun's going to rise again tomorrow. What are you going to do now?
It's like Groundhog Day, but without the same day. It's like reset. We'll just reset again and let's do it again.
Yeah. So
that's so true.
The highs and lows of like trying to allow the kids to be bored.
Yeah.
Which I then throw back at you and I and say, how well do you get bored? So you've just said, I know I can, the brain just switches off. You've got an on-off switch.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm
Yep.
the one that stays awake and I have to do some
Yeah.
processes to calm it down and
Yeah.
stop worrying about whether I remembered to turn the kettle off or not, you know. But
Your kettle doesn't go off automatically. You really need to upgrade. Just saying.
I, what I need to upgrade is my 1960s references. Um, no, how's it? So to put it in context, I'm a pastor of a small church. I'm the sole leader at the moment. We've been rebuilding it from the ground up. I didn't start with a leadership team, and so literally everything from, is the morning tea going to be covered to does anyone know, does anyone still have the key for the op shop to,
Yeah.
prepare a sermon, like everything.
And do the music and
Yeah.
be, the offering and the welcome and
Yeah, I got a message from somebody that uses the building, not from our church, but one of the external users, and it simply was a photo of a door handle, and it said, "Broken, could hurt someone."
the landlord as well. You're the
Yeah.
carpenter,
So
the plumber.
what I observed about myself is that threw me into a little bit of parenting. Well, why don't you take responsibility for it? Or if there was more money coming in, we could buy, whatever. I've got to fix that now because there's a group coming in tomorrow, and if the group comes in tomorrow and the door handles, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that can send me into a spiral. Now, thankfully, I've learned some skills, and again, I sort of had to go through the "Dear Lord, help" prayer. If they've survived this long with the door handle, one more day I'll be fine. And so, but I still made sure within 24, I think it was maybe 36 hours later, it was fixed.
Yep.
I got a builder to do it, sort of sucks because it's going to cost me a lot of money, but it had to be done, so on and so forth. But the process either side of that, even a year ago might have thrown me into these little anxiety spirals around, fixing it for the people and making sure the kids were fine. Blah, 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 blah. So the worthwhile change for me has been doing some work with my psyche as well, but also in my family and saying, hey, have you noticed is Daddy getting better? Yeah, Daddy's getting a little better at chilling out. So for me, that little silly example was something that I could observably say I handled that better today than I would have 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Whatever it happens to be.
Nice.
So
that's great when you get those little sort of measurement tools, really, aren't they, of how you're tracking in life?
Yeah. Well, and I'll circle back to that kind of thought of, how do you do boring following exciting? Because that is.
Yeah. How do you do Tuesday after a big Monday?
Yeah. But when I talk about worthwhile change, and I'll get a bit preacher on you. I'll do the alliteration, but the wake, waver, and withstand. This is an interesting kind of idea. So becoming aware to something new, like what needs changing. That's and that's a lot of parenting. Trying to tell your child, do you even see it? Do you even know it? Are you awake to this idea?
Yeah.
But wavering, trying to help us not waver, essentially. That moment of uncertainty before moving to the next part of solid ground. So how do you help how do you help your child stand strong even through change? This is going to have to happen. Going to hold you, and then of course the withstand is just that strength to go, no, that was a good decision because we took the time to understand it, and I can withstand because wherever you go next, everything's new around you.
Yep.
So again, I think the work worth doing for us as adults is to work on our understanding of that. Because the only thing you can really do as a leader in anything, in a family or otherwise, is transfer what you know.
Yep.
So you're trying to transfer what you know about you. Do you do well in boredom? Do you do well in silence? Do you do well in solace?
Yeah, I think I can do boredom okay. I don't mind being bored. Although I don't even know that I would call it boredom. I think I'd call it peace and quiet and, separation from a device and can happily sit, if I needed to, I could happily go and sit in the armchair now. No kids around tonight. I could sit in the armchair without the TV on and probably just sit there for an hour. Not necessarily think about anything. Just kind of sit there in the boredom of life and be quite fine with it. There's who was it? Was it Matt LeBlanc? Matt LeBlanc who played Joey on Friends. I don't know if you would have seen that interview he did one time with a late night sort of talk show, and he said they said, what do you most enjoy doing, Matt? What do you most enjoy doing? And he said, I am really, really good at doing nothing. He goes, I could just do nothing. I do nothing all day, and it's the best day. And they go, what do you mean nothing? Like, then you read a book, do you watch a movie, do you just sit on the couch? He goes, I do nothing. He goes, it's my favorite thing. And he's really quite adamant in it, like this idea of doing nothing, which is, there's something in that I find quite remarkable. I don't think I could sit and do nothing all day, but I can quite happily sit in the boredom of whatever's ticking around in my brain. As it's probably quite often just a monkey banging some cymbals together, playing a piano accordion, and be totally fine with it. So, Flip, what about you? When was the last time you would say you were bored?
Well, again, you're not allowed to ask me the same questions. It's not fair.
I didn't. I just asked you. I asked you the question, when was the last time you were bored? You asked me, how do I cope with boredom? Very different question.
You and I on the same staff would be a fascinating thing. I actually look. I asked the question because it is something I need to get better at again. The nothing part is the part where, and Matt LeBlanc, that is a good example, but my immediate cynical brain goes, yeah, but he's got all the provision, so he doesn't need to do anything.
Sure. Yeah, agree. So, he doesn't have to work. He doesn't have to
work, whatever. So there is a truth in most people that have made their money doing whatever it is they do, as opposed to having inherited wealth or whatever.
Yeah.
Done something to earn it, so often their rest still involves doing what they love doing, but there's not that same intensity about having to provide.
Yep.
For me, it's about the moment in a day when I feel like I've done enough providing, and I can stop and believe that I've done enough providing.
Yeah. So there's a justification to your reward sort of thing. Is that what you're saying?
Bit of guilt there. I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? But the word provision comes, and then I hear what I preach to others. My God shall supply in glory. What does Jehovah mean? And what is and if I quote Ephesians 11 to people, Ephesians 1:11, I should say, you've heard it. It's on a poster. All things work out for good for those who love and are called according to His good purposes, right? So that's. I should just read it actually, because that will do better. Because I'm trying to. It's funny when you preach it a lot. You've got all these different versions of it in your head.
Yeah.
And so the NLT says He makes everything work out according to His plan, right? So that's a great thing to preach, except it can feel like an excuse. It can feel like a, well, it's not up to me. It's up to God. I'll just let go. It's fine, But it wasn't until I heard it explained that it's working alongside God's plans that brings us into alignment with God's plans, right? So this is the King James. You ready for this? I'm going to give it a crack. He worketh all things after the counsel of His own will.
Yeah, wow.
So if God's got a will, and His will for you is to give you the good things that you need to do well in life, and that's not about, the gold and the pearls and the everything's happy all the time, because you know what? Comfort all the time doesn't grow anything. It doesn't. Yep. It's the sand in the oyster that creates the pearl. We know this stuff. Pressure creates diamonds, so on and so forth. But I like the word counsel in there. So if you read it, He worketh all things after the counsel of His will. Yeah. So there's an understanding element in that. So if I answer your question that you've asked, when I think of bored, I think of stop trying to provide everything for everyone. You'll never get it done. There's no end of that.
Yep.
B, you're not as good at this as you think you are. So when people ask what I preach to myself, this is what I try to preach to myself. If I sit in the council of the wise, I have to stop talking. I have to stop in general. I have to listen more, but I have to have discerned what wisdom actually is.
Yep.
So sometimes that's just, if you've ever looked at the method of reading scripture over and over slowly, it's called Lectio Divina. It's quite a commonly understood kind of thing. You say it in Latin, it just means
commonly understood. I do not
no,
understand.
sorry. It would be understood if I just explain it to you. It makes sense. If you give it a Latin term, it's like, wow, that sounds amazing. But it's just take a scripture, read it once, pause, Selah, as the Psalms often say, Selah. Then read it again, then pause.
Yep.
Then read it again.
Yeah, right. Gotcha.
And then write something down. What did it say to you?
Yep.
And even if you're not a person of faith, even if you never picked up a Bible, read a piece of wisdom. You know those quotes that people pop up on Instagram or whatever, you think, man, that's
yeah.
And you think that's wise, and you flick to the next thing. No. Just pause and think, why is that wise?
Yeah.
Why did that speak to me? Because honestly, as a parent trying to lead a child, you think you've got something on to offer them, first of all.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't know that you're there to provide for them, right? So if you say no to the lolly, no to the stimulus, whatever the stimulus is they're seeking, you need to offer them something else.
Yep.
So me learning to sit still, I believe at its greatest fruit would be helping my child sit still.
Yeah.
And me not over talking, but sharing one thought and allowing the child to understand that one thought. So all of these things for me, this is that whole, what do you preach to yourself? What's worthwhile knowing? So again, that scripture from Ephesians 1:11, which is used lots and lots in lots of circles, all things work together for good for those who are loved and called according, all that. It's true, all things work together for good, but sometimes your lifetime, you won't see the good.
Yeah.
So what if it's true that there's lots of pain and you're just going to live with lots of pain? And someone says that to you and you go, shut up, get stuffed. That can't be true. So if I go back to what boredom might be for me, I think it's that point where I, give myself a sideways slap and say, stop it. Stop trying to fix everything. Stop trying to provide for everyone. And Jodie's actually really good at saying this too. Joz, you don't have to do all of this.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe her when she says that, because I look at it and think it needs to be done. I have to do it.
Yeah.
She'll often say you don't have to. And she has to work pretty hard to convince me of that sometimes. But then if I hear the creator of the universe saying that, maybe my wife's got a
It's true, man.
And there's wisdom in that. There's wisdom in that counsel. So, I think, it's hard to answer that question succinctly and uniquely because I don't want to give a throwaway answer. But the holding on and letting go of parenting would be the same as the holding on and letting go of whatever your ideal world was going to be.
It's great. That's true, man. What a beautiful way to bring our season to a close. Just this idea of the push-pull, the letting go, the taking in, the holding, the knowing when to not hold. It's a beautiful image. It is. It really is. It's something we wrestle with, I'm sure, for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Whether it be in parenting, whether it be in relationships, whether it be in, whatever it is. Quite remarkable.
The question I've always got to ask is, what's the thing that's causing the most anxiety for you? And the most common answer to what are you going to do about that is to get rid of the thing.
Yeah.
Whatever the thing is. So work sucks. I get rid of work. Yeah, but what happens if you get rid of work? Well, you lose money. What happens if you lose money? Well, you blah, blah, blah. So actually what you've got to do is look at the ingredients that are in the cupboard. Right now, you've got your own mental, emotional, and spiritual health you're dealing with. Then if you've got kids, you've got that version of the kids thing that you're dealing with. Then if you've got a partner, right? So all of those things, suddenly they're exponentially impossible you can't just cut all those things out and pretend you're going to be fine. Because again, at the end of the day, wherever you are, there you are. It's you.
Yeah.
And so again, that what are you being stirred about? What are you waking up to that needs change? And hopefully, for all the parents listening, there's some self-reflection in that, waking up to what needs change. What helps you to hold steady, to withstand the forces of nature around you, to hold steady and find that, and how do you stop from wavering from the change you know needs to happen? So I think maybe what we've talked about in this particular conversation is I'm not going to waver from the ability or from the knowledge that I need to mature continually, and become a man of peace more and more. So that's kind of what I think my challenge is, because if love is what it's all about, then the world is going to throw everything other than that at us to try and throw us off our game, to be those that both absorb and give out the best parts of what our Creator has for us: love, peace, joy, kindness, gentleness, meekness. Against such things there is no law. So what I've always loved about you is your ability to be a man of peace and be that a bit. And I think that's why you manage staff groups in the way you manage them and all that kind of thing. You do seem to be able to hold multiple opinions in the room in a unified kind of way. And I think that's the beauty that you've brought to your parenting. And so I've always appreciated the non-anxious presence that you bring into the room as well. And so that's why I've appreciated these conversations. And I would challenge anyone, the non-anxious presence that I've rabbited on about that multiple times during this season. Because we've talked about managing change, recognizing change, managing change, and growing through change.
Yeah.
But the worthwhile change is to gather wisdom around you. And I've always appreciated our friendship for that very reason.
Oh, same, man. Look, we were talking about it the other day, wasn't it? That the modern way that males today have a relationship is doing a podcast together.
Yeah.
It's just been such a blast spending this last season with you, listening to your wisdom, listening to the things that you think about a whole lot more than I do.
That's because you've got an off switch and I want one.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, that's great. I should think more about that. And then I go to bed and forget about it. But I really appreciate what you bring to conversation, not just in a podcast, but in friendships, relationships, in parenting. The depth and the thought that goes behind what you do. So, bless you, man. It's a blast, and what a great season of conversations we've had on father figures.
I have decided that it has been worthwhile. And that's the gold medal.
Completely agree, man. Completely agree.
Hey, happy Christmas, happy birthday, happy whatever I missed between this and our next conversation.